Hey guys, Wayne here. I wanted to make a video concerning, because I've had a lot of questions, and part of the process that I use when I work with people is based on personalities. I use personalities extensively when I work with people, as a matter of fact. I've gotten to the point now where I only work with people, or when I work with people, I'll do a personality test on them. Now, I already know pretty much what the personality of the person is after speaking to them for a couple of minutes. All right, I know their propensities, I know their traits, I know their strengths, I know their weaknesses, just based on their personality. One of the reasons that I use a personality test is that once they do that, and then once they have a hard copy, then I can show them they've got something tangible. And when I say they, I mean you people that are watching this video, if you ever come to the point to where you work with me. But I do the personalities, and I go through and I explain the importance of personalities. Now, the other thing about personality is very, very interesting, is I would venture to say that 100% of the people that I work with at some level mask their true personality. They mask the personality that God meant them to be. And this occurs for a variety of reasons, usually way back during childhood. Because in order to mask, you have to have a dominant person or circumstance that causes you to retreat and to mask a different personality in order to survive in the environment in which you live. And it's human nature. It's the fight or flight mechanism. You're going to survive. So when I'm talking to people about their personality, then I go over and explain the masking. A lot of people start shaking their head or nodding their head yes, and they start understanding what personality is. Now, let's explain something real quick. Personality, you know what, doctors and scientists and psychologists and all of these people, who are way smarter than they should be, try to overcomplicate things, and they get together and they try to create a definition for a personality, or for what a person's personality is. And I'm a real simple guy, all right? And I'm going to give you my definition of what a personality is. A personality is what you think of yourself, and then what you try to expose to the world, all right? It's real simple. It's just a matter of who you're trying to portray yourself to be, and how you protect yourself in the strengths and the weaknesses that we all have. Then what it comes down to is how comfortable you are in your own skin. There are some people, and I've worked with people who are way, way, way up here in income, and their personality sucks. And the reason is because they have to overcompensate who they actually are in order to present to the world, or they feel they do, in order to accomplish what they have. I mean, and you start to see this enough, and it starts to make sense. But when I work with a person and their personalities, I expose people to their personality. I explain to them why that they're like that, and how who their caregivers were, the people around them that they looked up to and loved, and so on and so forth, how it influences their personality, and then how to enhance their personality. Enhance meaning, if you've got certain strengths and you've got certain weaknesses, how do we look at the weaknesses and turn those into strengths? And then how do we look at the strengths? How do we look at those and say, okay, how do we take these strengths and capitalize on them without being overbearing, without being obtuse, without being an asshole, if you could say, how to be comfortable in your own skin, okay? And then I try to teach people how to look at the personalities of other people and how to relate. Zig Ziglar used to say, people who are like each other tend to like each other. Well, if you look at the personalities, and there's 4 distinct personalities in the way that I look at things. Let's assume that 25% of the population is a certain type of personality. Now, you always have a primary personality and you have a subprimary personality. So it's going to be a combination of 2. And then there are varying degrees of those personalities. And that's what makes everybody unique. You can have 2 people the same personality, but they may have 2 different subdominant personalities, makes them completely different. So how do we use these personalities to improve ourselves? How about confidence? How about your own view of yourself, your self-image? How about addictive personality? A lot of that comes down to personality, all right? Now, for my purposes, and excuse me, our gardeners are here today doing our lawn. So how do we use personalities to enhance ourselves? But more so, why do I use it as a hypnotherapist? Well, as a hypnotherapist, I would like to know as much about a person as possible in order to help them the best way that I can while using the tool of hypnosis. Now, hypnosis in the scope of things of what I do and how I do it is probably, 60%. The other 40% is various different tools that I use. It could be personality test, look at your personality. It could be handwriting. I look at your handwriting, try to identify some traits there, find out who you are, and then it could be your belief system, your moral code, your spiritual belief system. All of these things come into play to make up who you are. And a lot of times when I meet with people, I'll ask them, what is your belief system? What is your spiritual belief system? And sometimes I'll get a cockeyed look from them. And I say, well, do you believe in God? Do you believe in this? Do you believe in this and this and this? And it may all be no, because I may be dealing with an agnostic or an atheist. I'm not there to judge what you are. What I'm there is to get information, because if I'm working with a person in hypnosis and I haven't gotten this information, and their belief structure is there is no God, but I introduced post-hypnotic suggestions in a way that there is a God, then their subconscious is going to reject that. There's going to be conflict. So I have to be I have to know what I'm dealing with going in. Some hypnotists don't do that. Some people, put you under this and they just, they're off to the races. I tend to want to know a little bit more about it. That gives me the ability to connect to a person in ways that I feel is unlike anybody else. I think that it gives me a view into people that allows me to be empathetic and feel what they're feeling. You see, we all have that ability. Anthony Robbins, on many of his seminars, used to do this thing where he'd bring 2 people up on stage, and he'd tell a person in their ear what he wants them to think about and what he wants them to feel, the emotion. And they couldn't do anything else but think that feeling and emotion. Then what he'd do is he'd place them directly across a chair from you. They put a chair in front of each other, put each person there, and that person that had the instructions would have to give the nonverbal signals. You can call it telepathic, you can call it emotions, you can call it whatever you want. But they would have to connect, and the other person would have to come up with, well, this person is this, and explain it. more times than not, the other person was able to pick up on exactly what it was the other person was thinking, feeling, and what the emotions were. And that's not magic. We all have that ability. You walk into the room and your wife is not happy, or your girlfriend is not happy. Trust me, they don't have to say a word, and you know immediately something is askew. And a lot of times, you know exactly what it is because you can feel it, okay? So that's what I mean by getting in sync with a person and being able to tie into them so I can better help them overcome whatever it is, the challenges that they have. So the personality of a person is almost like a neon sign for me. And it is probably the absolute one thing that I have learned over the years and years and years. And I learned about this 30 some odd years ago. That has made a major impact on how I deal with people. Now, I'm not to say I'm perfect. You start things out and you forget and that type of thing. But what it does enable me to do is be able to understand why people the way they are, understanding that they're not there to piss me off, that they don't make the decisions just to send me sideways. It's their personality. And then I can deal with them on a more logical, non-emotional basis. And a lot of times I just kind of laugh and move on because they'll get wrapped up in the details. I don't take things very personally. I've learned a long time ago, to quit taking things personal. And I do, and there's a reason for that. And the reason is that I protect me by not taking things personal. All right. If I choose to take on things personal or take something someone has said or done personally, then I'm allowing them to dictate a lot of stuff within me. I'm giving away a lot of my power, and I just choose not to do that. I don't do that, all right? Which in actuality puts me in a position of having a lot of power. Now, there's a very fine line in learning about personalities and how you use it. A salesperson, for example, and I use that term loosely, a salesperson, somebody that goes out and they're selling a product or a service to either the general public or they're going to business. They need to learn how to interrelate with different personalities in order to relate to them, in order to create or find out what their want, need, or desire is. And then they're able to fill it and communicate on such a level that people are comfortable. If we go off the basis of 25% of the population is a personality, and then they've got a subpersonality, and you limit yourself and say, you know what, I am who I am, and the rest of them can kiss, and I'm not going to worry about it. Well, you're eliminating 75% of your marketplace right off the bat. So that's not a smart thing to do. Now that let me follow that up with, and I said people who are in sales. Everybody is in sales. If you're not a salesman, you're not of this planet. Everybody is selling something. Everybody is trying to go from point A to point B for something. If you've met a person in your life and you want to go out with them, trust me, you're selling yourself. Okay? You're creating that want, need, or desire. Same thing. If you have kids and you're wanting them to go to bed at a certain time, trust me, you're selling something. There has to be features and benefits that go along with this. So you have to be smart about your approach. And you have to learn how to be smart about your approach. I tell anybody, anybody would be better for it if they read a couple of good sales books and understand what sales is, the closing techniques, the takeaways, and so on and so forth. So back to the personalities, that's part of it. That's part of the tool that you're putting out there for people to see and to gravitate towards. Have you ever met a person and you've spoken to them for a few minutes, you walk away and you think to yourself, man, they got a personality of a rock. They got no sense of humor. There's just no connection. Now, that person may be walking away from you and going, man, that person's personality is just way overbearing. You see what I'm saying? They're not matching up. Okay? Anybody can be connected to. They can be understood if you just take a little bit of time and know what to look for. So in closing of this video, what I utilize the personalities for is to make people better. So when they come to me, they can walk away with something very tangible, something in the conscious world that they can use. I'm always recommending books on personalities and that, and say, look, you need to read this book. It's a small book. If you're a reader, you can read it in 2 hours. If you're not a reader, you can stumble through it in 4 hours. But you need this information. Because if you don't, you're doing yourself a disservice, and you're going to continue to struggle with certain aspects of your life. And there's no need in it. There's absolutely no need in it. So anyway, so that's it. Watch the video. So drop me a line. I'm going to tag this I'm going to put this on my website so people can watch it. And I'd love some feedback from you. Email, text, carrier pigeon, smoke signals, doesn't matter. I'd love to communicate with you. All right? All right, folks. Have a good one. Bye.